give Babbitt, no money, no further than a letter of support saying, hey, we think this is a neat idea to see how economical it can be to reduce sulfate. Because if we can solve the problem instead of fighting over it, we could get a lot more done on a lot of these projects.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. What cities are you asking for support? Babbitt and,
Babbitt, Ely, and the township of Fall Lake.
have you received support from any of them yet?
They're all deciding on that as we're sitting here right now.
Oh, really? I thought Ely didn't decide that?
Ely decided, voted 5-1 to draft a letter of support. That I understand has been drafted, but they're voting on it today,
Okay,
okay?
all right.
And we have, we have not asked for support or that from any of the mining companies.
That's my question.
And we also have not asked for letters of support from any of the more local environmental groups. It came out in the Ely newspaper that Save the Boundary Waters was supporting us. We have not asked for it, nor have we gotten support from them.
Okay.
We just want to see what can really be done on a cost-effective way to reduce sulfate.
And how is Wacola tied into this?
Wacola is the grant request
Mhm.
one, okay? So they are requesting the grant. It's for Wacola.
Mhm.
They are subcontracting with Bay West and Clearwater Biologic to do the work,
To do the study.
to do the study,
Okay,
correct?
all righty.
Why,
Could I have a question first? Can you
Yes.
shut that thing off so I can get
Yes.
my mic?
Yes, yes.
You were pretty loud. You were pretty good, Mike.
I'm using my teacher voice.
Yeah, right.
Powering down.
Okay.
Questions?
Who's involved in the White Iron Chain of Lakes? How many entities or cabins or whatever you have?
Again, the lakes are Birch Lake, White Iron, Farm and Garden. There's about 200 active members, dues-paying members in Wacola. A lot of them are White Iron because that's kind of where it started. We don't have as many from Birch Lake, but it's been growing. I do happen to be the Birch Lake representative, and we'd love to get more members into Wacola for that.
So have they all bought into this project?
Yes, they have.
You, I noticed you sort of alleged that the sulfate comes from North Shore?
The data shows that it comes from the Dunker River. And if you go up beyond North Shore on the Dunker River, there's not elevated that. They do have a permit from the MPCA to pump their sump water into Langley Creek, which flows into Birch Lake.
Because I think North Shore would argue the point that they do not dump any sulfides into the river.
Sulfides, they don't. Sulfates, the sulfide is what it's produced after biologically changing. Okay. I have discussed that with them many times and they acknowledge it. It's in their permit. But the debate is, do you do anything about it? Because it's always been considered too expensive. Okay. That's why we did a field test out there to demonstrate the possibility of biologically reducing it, which is far, far less expensive.
if this is beneficial, as you claim to the mining companies, it seems like there's hesitancy for you guys to go for their support.
No hesitancy. We've been in discussions with,
Or why aren't they one of the first entities on the list of people to get, to get support from? I would think that if the support came from the mining companies, it would be a non-starter here right off the.
I think that's a valid question. I think it was more a thing of timing. We have to get our grant application in by the 19th of March.
So in our position, had you be able to come and say that there's support from North Shore Mining, it would be very easy for us as a community to take a stance. That company is very important to our community.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And they are very aware of what we're doing overall. Their field test that ran for 5 years was on Cleveland.
I don't
That's
think,
right.
Jeff, it's the question of what you found in the scientific community here is not really the hang up, as you know.
There's some verbiage that I have in the grant request that I
Okay.
have a particular problem with myself choosing to support, just because it does seem a little bit against the mining, and that's just one of my concerns.
Okay, it's not intended to be against the mining. It is intended actually to be supportive mining, solving a problem that has been a barrier to some things happening in mining, in a variety of types of mining, okay? And what we're needing on this is to go to a larger scale than what I've been able to do in my basement lab,
Mhm.
to demonstrate that and prove out what the costs are.
The concept and what I've seen out of that, I mean, I get where you're going with it, but the NGOs that are not supportive of mining, the Friends of the Boundary Waters and the things of that nature, are going to take your data, and without the mine having say or participating in this, they're going to get creamed by this, and you're going to impact the copper nickel mining that's getting ready to go on over here. These are the concerns that we have. Not saying that there may not be there and that your idea isn't great, but without the support of these companies, they should be involved in it, because if you find anything, they should have a right to be able to say what's going on with this and what they're doing. And I don't see where they have an avenue of defending themselves. And that's going to really impact what happens in the future with mining up here. And from my standpoint, I mean, I see a lot of people going to the communities for all this. We have no input on what happens with the mining. I mean, you want our support. These mining companies support our community. They're our lifeblood. And if they don't have a say, this is just me speaking out loud, and I'm going to be upfront. I work in the mining industry, so I support mining, responsible mining, safe mining. But if they don't have a say in the game, I can't supporting anything that's going to exclude them when the people that are going to be seeing this information are going to use it against them. That's where I am with it.
I can understand that position, and I just want to fall back on, as the requesters of the grant, we consciously decided that this is something we wanted to be proving out, and yes, it will be taken and shared with the mining companies. They know very well what we've been doing on this, but we did not want to go out and request support at this time from either the mining company or the NGOs on the other side of the fence, okay? Because we want to look at the hard data, what really can be done. As a further extension, at the same time, we are talking with mining companies. The unit that's sitting out in front is destined for a mining company. They've asked us to do it, and we are doing it for them. They are totally aware of that, but we have not asked them for a letter of support on this, okay? That's the only difference. The full information on it is being shared. The graphs I showed you are from a mining company that has asked us to do that, because they said, can you really do it when it's that low? Because you did it up here, but you do it when it's down there and take it on down.
So if you're already doing it for them, then you already know the cost effectiveness of it then, correct?
We did that in the lab.
Mhm.
There are other characteristics, like they have to be able to flow a lot more water through it to be able to say how much can we treat in a given footprint. We're using a 6-inch diameter bioreactor column, okay? You can't flow that fast enough to determine the economics of what does the capital cost come out at, okay? The field test we ran it very slow to make sure we got a real good result, and got a real good result. We also learned we could run it a lot faster. And that's what these mobile units are intended to do, to give us other information that we don't have, primarily about what would be the capital investment. It's not high tech, but we don't know the limits of how fast you can run it yet. And that's the purpose of the mobile unit. And if anybody wants to afterwards, you're welcome to come out, see inside, we're still building it, where can explain that in more detail on that. Until we start having that data at much higher flows, it's tough to define very well what the real costs are. We believe they're gonna be very low, but we'd like to demonstrate that in this unit. And if, we get there and later on, Cliffs wants to put it out there on their property, we could do that. This one is not going to Cliffs, okay, but it is going to one of the taconite companies.
And have you received any input from Fall Lake yet, Township?
It's being
Are they
presented to
ready?
them right now,
Okay,
tonight.
all right.
Also. And, we did get pushback some from in Ely, that we see it's getting resolved. Because somebody got the idea that we were doing this for Friends of the Boundary Waters.
I don't believe that. I don't want
No.
anybody to think that, but
Right.
as far as my vote goes, without New Range or Cliffs having some skin in the game, my vote's gonna be no to support anything without them being a part of it.
They will, and the NGOs on the other side are gonna jump on every little thing and make a big deal out of it, when really it probably doesn't have anything to do with the scientific thing that you're doing. So that's a shame.
Yeah, I find it a shame.
You're fighting it yourself.
We're wanting to do what can really solve the problem in an economical way and get support to do that from a state organization, okay, overall state. And as we know, not everybody thinks like we folks up here in Babbitt do. And so there's a lot of push different ways. Other people say, why are you asking for state money for this? Why doesn't the mines do it all themselves? Well, we've got to prove things out and see what really can be done in an economical, effective manner. So it's a tough call to make, and we're trying to take the middle road here, not one side or the other, because otherwise you get argument one side or the other.
Yeah, that'd be it.
Okay,
I guess, Jeff, one of my concerns is the location, and I understand it has to be where sulfates are high or sulfides are high. But I can just imagine the fodder for the environmental groups when they see your rig parked out there by, in the Duncan, just a short ways away from North Shore. And they'll hop all over this with their lies and their false propaganda like they always do. And this is where I just cannot support that location or the project. I think it's just, I'm not a friend of the Friends of Boundary Water.
Understand?
Their main objective up here is to put a kibosh on all mining, whether it's copper, nickel, or eventually go after North Shore. And that's their goal. And
Which we know is just
anything they're
not
for, I'm
feasible.
against.
Yeah.
So
Understand.
I guess that's my.
I'm not in favor of that stance either, by any shot. We need the mining. We're here. I moved here to Babbitt because of mining. But I also get very bothered when we can't get things done because of these issues. And that's what drives me. I live on Birch Lake. I love Birch Lake. And I'd love lower the sulfate levels in Birch Lake, lower the mercury levels in the fish, and get rid of this as an issue for blocking mining.
But you make the assumption that New Range and Cliffs are gonna say no to supporting it.
No, I
Might be
don't.
surprised. They might
I think that's the answer
be
to it. is to
they
get
might
the-
be willing to.
If you could get their
work with
support,
you.
I think you'd find the communities, you would have their support. But without that,
They might say throw it in Duncan Pit. Let's see what it can do. You could really get a good test out of it.
Now, if they would take that, for requesting money from LCCMR. You request the money from them. It's not a group of people supporting it, maybe a letter of support from them.
They may even pay for it. You don't know until you ask them.
I think they might, once we demonstrate that we can handle increased flows and the economies that come with it. I think this is something that will be very active. I mean, we're discussing with New Range all the time. If you look at the current website of New Range, on the environmental section, they make the commitment in there to meet all standards, including sulfate, including tribal standards. They wrote that, I didn't. They also commit in there to take out 1,500 tons of sulfate from the legacy taconite mine pit lakes. That's a lot of sulfate. They can't do that with reverse osmosis. That's why they worked with us to do the field test there to prove that it can be done biologically when they get their permit. But they haven't got their permit. So we've been waiting, when you get your permit, because they know that it can be done because we have worked with them. So they're very aware of it. And so they've made the statements on their website and publicly that they will be dealing with this. And we just would like to be able to show them, demonstrate better to them what those real costs are, which they know a good deal about it. We've been talking to them for years, as well as with Cleveland Cliffs. That was part of the field test. And now this is the next step of getting good use out of LCCMR money, which comes from the Minnesota Lottery and 40% of our sales tax. And they're looking for good applications to prove out what can be done by a local company in a cost-effective manner.
Thank you, Jeff. Do we have any more questions for Jeff? Nope. All right, do we have a motion for a letter of support? Do we have a motion for non-support?
I'll move we do not support the project at this time.
Okay, we have a motion by Lassie. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Second by White. Any discussion?
Until we get the companies that are going to be impacted by the study involved, I don't think we can support it. I think that they have a right to be involved before we let them go forward.
I agree, Joe.
Okay, all right. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Lossing,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Lassie,
Yes.
Zupansich.
Yes. Motion carries. So highway annexation and city water sewer hookup. Roxanne, I see you're here. Guns blazing. All right, so you can see that there is, the matter of the annexation is in the, in your packets. For everyone to look through.
Joel, were you able to read over the?
Yep, I reviewed the updated one that you sent this afternoon, that looks good.
So Joel, our next step on the annexation procedure then.
So you need to decide, is there gonna be a tax rate step up?
Is it gonna be a what?
The tax rate step up.
So basically, when the hideaway annexes into the city, their taxes will, will go to the city rates versus the county rates. So it's going to be a bump up in their taxes. So what some places do, they'll do a tax rate step up. So over however many years, it can be up to 1 to 6 years, the rate you can set so that it has to be an even amount, the same amount every year, going from that initial cost up to what it would be now going with the city. So you can set it like that, otherwise you don't have to, but that's one thing that's optional within the resolution, but that's, the council needs to decide on that.
And so is the step up, are the taxes then prorated, like from year one, so you go to 6 years, so is it like the
So let's say-
taxes
Yeah, so let's say,
With
let's say the
based on year.
Hideaway's tax rate is $1,000 right now and it's going up to 6,000, we would set it so that it would go, the increase is $1,000 each year to get up to that 6,000. So,
Well, what's the position of the Hideaway? Roxanne, what's your position on the tax settlement?
the tax.
Do you have an opinion that,
I would prefer just financially that it's prorated. Because, oh my God,
To do the tax rate, yeah, to do the
Yeah.
step up.
I mean, if you're in business,
yeah, I just wanted your opinion to give us a little idea what to do.
when I taxed the lady from the county, she said there was that option of the, and when she taxed me, it could be a 10-year prorated thing. So I probably slowly up.
Okay, and then for clarification, is the annexation, does that take place now and then they get hooked up? Or I think, was it when the junction annexed? It was when, literally the same day as when they hooked up, they were annexed.
They have, yeah, they have to be annexed before we can start hooking them up to the city.
Okay, how did the
So-
junction get away with that? Do you remember, John?
That was a different type of annexation too, that was by ordinance versus this is an orderly annexation, so there's different, I don't know,
Yeah,
stipulations
we
for
did
it.
that one simultaneously. It
Yeah.
just seemed that everything fell together at one
Right.
time. And,
Right,
you know, the water sewer out there and the annexation all came together at pretty much the same time.
And that's basically what these are going to drive.
Me, right now, I have a contractor, I have the permit from the state of Minnesota, I have approval from the county. And, we need to figure out the thaw, pretty basically.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's a boring company, a boring company.
So right now, basically, you're shovel ready, almost.
I'm shovel
Yeah.
ready, I just don't have thought out ground.
Mother Nature.
Yeah, and then the annexation.
And you've worked everything out with the PUC as far as,
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is the next.
Oh, yeah,
Here's Johnny on the spot.
yeah,
I was very proactive. It was like, I can go, watch this.
well, I just think with the annexation, we should move on it and prorate the taxes over, did you say a 10-year period?
This one has to be
Told me
six.
10, but
Yeah,
Six.
yeah,
she
with
said
this one, it's six.
So whatever happens.
Yeah, I think we should make it as convenient as possible.
Okay, Jim, is that your motion then?
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay. Motion by Massey, second by Fitzpatrick to go, use this tax rate, the step-up rate up to 6 years, or to 6 years?
Yep.
Correct? Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Lossing,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Lassie,
Yes.
Zaconsic.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, next one is C, the Timber Bay.
I just have one question, Andrea. Do I pay you or do I get the money to the county for that annexation?
I think that
I
goes
think
to
it's
the
probably-
county, but we can talk about that. I can call you.
Thank you. Because it's like, now I don't know where next.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Roxanne. Okay, next we have the Timber Bay annexation and city water sewer hookup. This is a little bit different than, I don't think it's gonna be as easy as the Hideaway, but along the same lines, I think everyone's generally for it.
We do have one other quote coming in. They weren't able to get it, in time for us, so there is also that. It's from Bolton and May. Chucky will be, meeting with them, I believe, on Thursday this week. So,
Okay, so how is that that's gonna push back how far? Because I know Timber Bay has concerns about closing and being able to get this all done.
the last time I talked with the new owners for Timber Bay, they're definitely ready to take this process, stay working with the city. They're actually, one of them is moving up here April 1st.
Mhm.
So it technically doesn't have to be done before the closing, because they'll be handling this afterwards, after they close.
But I think
The
money
next-
has to be escrowed.
Yep,
And the
yep, and they
decision
do
has to
have-
be made.
Yep, they do have money escrowed already. The one thing, the next step from them is I need a letter for annexation, that they're willing to do the annexation, so.
Okay, so is that just the only request that's on here then for Timber Bay?
We were hoping to have that third quote in there to maybe start deciding, have the council decide which way they wanted to go with this. We don't also have funding options at the moment. March is kind of a big one where infrastructure funding will be coming out soon, that we can look into for the city. Because this would be a project that the city would have to fund.
So what was the deadline that was given to everyone?
For the quotes, the first deadline was March 1st,
Okay,
so, or no, yeah, March. Were you giving a March? Okay, end of March, something like that.
March 1st or end of March?
Yeah, I can't remember what it,
So it's end of March,
so
then,
that was originally before we sent out any bids, before PUC decided that they would send out, ask for other bids. So I don't think there was technically a deadline that they were given. They were just asked all at the same time and then hoping to get them in as soon as possible. Hence why Ballings came in this morning, and then Bolton and Manx is coming, they're working on theirs this week, so.
okay. Bowling's is dated February 28th. Is this,
Do you see the figure?
They might have sent it
What?
Friday, I wasn't in the office, so.
I didn't see it. Oh, here, first one.
I
didn't
hate
see it
to
after
be a
that.
cause for delay of a business being able to move forward in a timely manner. How does the PUC, is anyone here from PUC?
Davis,
Dave, do you have anything to add?
As far as the deadline for the quotes went, there really wasn't a deadline. PUC asked for, we looked at different engineering firms and we had proposals. SEH was one, J and J, I
oh,
think.
yes, Dave's on there.
Those are two that I think we
Are they
have.
still gonna be able to do it?
And there's prices in there from both.
We talked about.
So I can tell. But the council, now, we can figure out which way they want to go.
Does PUC have a preference?
PUC is basically looking for the lowest they want to get the same thing as the city.
Is there a number on SCH?
This part of it is basically a city project. Well, obviously, the PUC will be working with the mill, they created most of the plans and things like that, but the city will be funding this.
But the PUC has the authority and the duty to choose their engineers, but what's to prevent us from approving the annexation? Can't we do the annexation approval and you guys can decide who you want?
We don't, it's not up to the PUC to decide which engineering firm to go with. We make a recommendation, we look at what they come in with, and we forward recommendations to the city. It's up to the city to figure out which engineering firm they want to go to and how they're gonna pay for this stuff.
So there's nothing you say that we can do
Is this it?
at this time until you get us a proposal?
Is this it?
No, the proposals, to start with, the proposals are in the quotes that you have.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, you look at them and they're basically the engineering firms, each one of them is gonna do the same thing, it's just the cost wise.
And have you guys looked at the proposals then?
You look at the two we had, one from SGH and one from J and J, I believe it is. I don't have it, I don't have things in bring with me, but
Right, and they're apples to apples, right,
pretty much, yes.
other than the cost.
And you don't have a recommendation?
It's not up to us to.
That's your field of expertise.
Yeah. Like I said, as far as PUC goes, we want to keep the cost down.
And from my understanding, Chuck did work with the engineer firms to get the plans made up so they are comparable and they are what the PUC specifically is looking for. They just wanted to relate to council being that it is a city project and not a PUC. They're willing to work with either company, whatever you decide moving forward.
Yeah, basically PUC did their part and now it's on the city to decide.
And we don't need this in order to annex right now,
No,
correct?
no, we don't.
But will it put any delays on anything?
I think we're kind of past that point on the side. There were, surveys that should,
This is
that
for
could have been done
This is
earlier
for
in the year and
Ely
things like
uses.
that, but we're.
Okay, where is
kind
that
of
one
past
at?
point.
Until they're annexed, nothing can be done with as far as the water and sewer goes.
Right.
Both properties have to be annexed first before anything can be done.
Right,
And then it's up to the city to go ahead and start it and get it done.
right. The hideaway just a little bit further ahead. Well, and I guess we need a motion to annex Timber Bay.
We don't have a letter of annexation. We can't annex them tonight.
Oh. Well, it says it right on the agenda, so what are we doing?
So we were just basically looking at the quotes and things that we have right now, and making sure that the city still wants to go with this project, like how it's going, because the city is going to have to fund this.
Right.
So, yeah, we do not have a letter from Timber Bay saying that they want to annex into the city yet. So we cannot say that we're annexing them without that letter and then the orderly annexation resolution.
Are they aware that they need to send us a letter?
Well, then we'll table them until
I
next
guess
meeting.
so, yeah.
Nothing we can do. I'll move the table.
Okay. Motion to table, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by White. All
I
in,
do-
any discussion?
Discussion, yeah.
Mhm.
On the third quote here, is there a dollar, am I missing the dollar, is,
JPJ?
That's kind of hidden in the, it's
Within-
not, yeah, it's kind of in the.
For dollar figures?
yeah,
Yeah, I was looking.
did you find it?
No.
I didn't either. I found it on the first two.
You're looking at JPJ.
JPJ.
Yeah.
Dave, do you happen to know what JPJ's is?
Pardon?
Do you happen to know what JPJ's is?
That's on the second page of the building.
Page 2? I'm just glancing for numbers.
I didn't see any figures.
I don't see no number on page 2. Page 3 has some numbers, but that doesn't.
Right on their cover page. it says,
Yeah, but like this one.
Yeah.
JPJ, that's the big one.
This is 50,000.
That's for the final cost of it.
No. Yeah, I don't see columns. I don't see a
It's
final.
not in there, I think, because I looked at it on the computer and I didn't
Yeah.
find it there either.
I thought we tabled number today.
I don't think it's
There's-
tabled.
yeah.
The only figures they were on that second type publication.
Yeah, and well, right here is 50,
Yeah, about 50,000.
but or greater.
Well, see, all of those are the ones I got.
All right.
Okay, all right, so this, any other further discussion? Okay, all in favor to table, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I don't either.
Planning Commission, Deep Winter Greenhouse Project.
Okay, I believe we have Heather here and we'll ask her to come up to the microphone. I think you're all aware of just a little background before Heather gets that this project has been reviewed by the Planning Commission. And we approved the concept in principle. And I guess what there is now, we have to work out, if you agree to go forward with it, we have to work out a location And how do we convey the land or the land use to Heather? And you wanna talk a little bit, Heather?
Sure, yeah, thank you for inviting me tonight. My name's Heather Hohenstein, and the project that Jim was talking about, and I'm sorry I didn't recognize you on the way in, Jim.
Well, that's, I got my haircut today, so it's.
Okay, good. It's called the Deep Winter Greenhouse, and so it's a very efficient greenhouse to heat because of the design. It's a prototype from the University of Minnesota. And so when they first came out with these in 2017, they had 7 built throughout Minnesota. And so we didn't get on back then, unfortunately, because the cost was covered. But the closest one to Babbitt is in Finland, Minnesota, and I visited that one. And then the next closest one is in Bemidji, Minnesota. And so what I've been working on the Planning and Zoning Commission about is the lot here in Babbitt on, there's 2 different lots on Mulberry Lane. And so after we went over that in August, I did get a report from the University of Minnesota consultant who's also working with Rockbridge School to have one of these built right on the school property. And so that report, I think it's in your packet, said either lot would be fine. They adjoin each other. Each one has its kind of advantages and disadvantages. Lot A is more wooded, so we have to do more clearing. They're not like high value trees, it's like little bushes and whatever. The advantage to A is that there's electricity hookup. So even though the greenhouse is mostly heated by solar, we do need fans to blow that heated air down underneath the foundation of the greenhouse. So that's where the electric hookup is in Lot A. Lot B is less wooded, and so the cost then to build would be, or it would just be more to run the electricity over a little bit farther. And like Jim said, at this point, either lot is fine with us. We've done the analysis of the flooding potential, and that would work out either with a sump pump in the foundation of the greenhouse. We think of it as just a 4-foot deep basement. And then it's filled with like baseball sized rock, because that lets the air, the heated air flow through. And then those rock, they're the heat sink. So that can be, if it floods, it can be like, I guess, anybody's basement that floods with the sump pump. Or we could build it up on grade, but then embank the 4-foot distance. So as far as like the next step, to work with the city on like a public-private partnership. And so what does that look like? Is it like a memorandum of understanding for, you know, a given time period, say 20 or 30 years. I believe it's called first right of refusal, where, you know, when 40 years from now, if the greenhouse is not being used and the city and the decision makers at that time decide, you know, that they're just going to take the land back. That is, I guess, what our proposal is. And then if, you know, to negotiate if it's, you know, like an annual, like $500 or $1,000 or whatever the city deems like valuable for it, like that land is, you know, public land, I guess, public facility.
Okay. So do you have like a request, a written request?
I don't
or-
have an MOU written up at this time.
Okay.
I was hoping to then like make an appointment or however we wanted to work it out, probably to bring something concrete to, to the city attorney and then kind of work back and forth that way.
And Jim, the planning and zoning is, they're in favor of this, right?
Yeah, the planning has endorsed it. We've looked at it. John, I think you were
Yeah.
on the planning commission at that time, so we fully endorse it, you know. They did look at a spot, originally it was on the school playground, so that's why we referred to Mulberry. So anyhow, it looks like a worthwhile project and we can't go wrong with it.
So just for the folks in the audience and stuff, the end user, the mission here. I mean, obviously, it's a greenhouse, so you can grow organic food. You know, who takes care of it? What is the city's commitment on something like this? Who maintains it as it's going? You know, can you touch on some of that?
Yeah, for sure. So the commitment that we have is for the use life of the greenhouse and to have that organized. A lot of it will probably be through the school. There's a farm to table group that one of my colleagues goes to. I haven't been to it myself, but has met with a couple of the Babbitt school teachers, a science teacher. My husband is a science teacher in Ely, so just that curriculum that they use there with a greenhouse is already part of the school. But then our hope as far as like the public and the benefit to like more intergenerational is then to have like a city garden space that you could have a lot of an outdoor plot outside of the greenhouse itself. The deep winter greenhouse, the times of the year that it's not advantageous compared to just like growing something in a little garden plot is actually July and August. It gets too hot in the greenhouse.
Sure.
So it would make sense to have the outdoor raised beds at that time. And then also the plants that have been experimented on with the University of Minnesota, they're finding light, like plants that are edible that are not as light dependent, because it's not the heat that's the main issue of growing in the wintertime, it's actually the amount of light that the plants get. So it's kind of a long answer, but to grow it into an indoor-outdoor space, but to start with the indoor space, because that's what we have the money for.
So it's in conjunction with the school in most, I mean, is that who the end user for the organic food is for the school to use it for their?
That would be great if there was enough grown for,
Okay.
for consumption. Otherwise, it's just the individual, having a few carrots here or there. It's not like the farms. The one that's proposed here, the footprint is only like 25 by 25.
I always make that.
But if you go out to the University of Minnesota website, they do have now a farm grade that's much larger. So that would be like for actual food production.
What is the life expectancy of the building itself?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's a 50-year as kind of the, building standard. It's stick built, the lumber that's in it. But as soon as we get kind of like, okay, this is how, the go ahead from the city, we'll put out a request for bids, and then it will probably be, depending on which lot we decide on, it would be either 2 or 3 different contractors. We might need a contractor for lot A to do the clearing, but the second contractor would be an excavating company, and then the third contractor would be the carpentry piece of it. But yeah, 50-year lifespan on it.
I think it's a great idea.
Do you have a working model of an MOU or anything that we could start with?
I could get one to you or to Yeah,
Yeah.
for a public-private partnership.
Yeah, we've got to start somewhere, and if you have something in place, we could probably use that as a working model and adapt it to our situation.
Mhm.
And the other thing is, I don't know if the council has preference whether we give Lot A or Lot B. I personally don't. I don't care.
I don't either. Whichever one you would prefer.
So if you want to do A and do some clearing, if that's more agreeable, I don't think we'd have any problem with it.
Okay, all right. Well,
But if you could get us a working model.
I get what
that
she
we
wants
The
can
to
do,
build.
framework.
and I could probably get it to Joel, he could look at it, and then we would agree on a lease or an agreement or whatever.
Right,
And
whatever
then
that is, that,
Paperwork enough.
yeah, we'd be working backwards from how we picture the end life when none of us are probably here anymore.
Right.
So when are you looking to really get going?
When the ground thaws.
Okay, well,
just like the highway.
the
Yeah.
sooner you get us the
So is
info,
there-
the sooner we can approve it, you guys can get going.
Sure, yeah, well, that would be, for sure before the end of the month, that I'll get a framework of an MOU. We didn't want it to come across as, this is what we're telling you we need to do. It's more in a fluid state right now for the city to determine that it's, all stakeholders would benefit.
Yeah, well, it's new ground for us, so we'll work it out.
In the communities where it's not school related, I mean, where you don't, it's not like Rockridge, it sounds like it's gonna be targeted towards the kids in the school and learning how to garden and such. In the other communities, maybe like Finland and stuff, is it something like a gardeners club gets involved? I'm just trying to understand
Yeah,
the
no,
workings of this, and maybe that's what Jim is getting at.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. The one in Bemidji is run by the Food Shelf. So I don't know off the top of my head, like what the umbrella, funding for the Food Shelf or whatever is, but yeah, it's part of their Food Shelf there in Bemidji. And then in Finland, it's called the Organic Growers Association.
It's just people that are interested in getting involved and create a club and they go at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and in those two examples, they were, almost like gifted, or I don't think they were gifted, but they signed on to be on these first 7 prototypes from the University of Minnesota.
Okay.
Joe, did you have a question?
Did you have a
No, I
question?
don't
No?
have a question.
Okay.
All right, any further questions?
I think it's cool.
Okay,
Okay, thanks, Heather.
Thank you. And I hope you don't mind if I leave, I'm kind of looking at the weather rolling in, so,
Oh, no,
thank you.
I'll be right behind you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
5 minutes, Reggie.
Right. Okay, next on the docket is the employee phone stipend.
I just wanted to bring it up that when the policy was changed for the employee phone stickers a couple months ago, it said call rates for the heads of $40 a month. The previous rate for the chief of police was $60 a month, and then the rate for the city administrator is also $60 a month. And those were a result of union negotiations back in 2015. So I'm just looking at the rates to what the previous rates were.
I only heard like bits and pieces of that. So what about in 2015?
So in 2015, that's when the original cell phone sticker rates were set. From the union negotiation.
Okay, and are they in the union agreements now?
They are not in the contract. Back when it was negotiated, the city requested specifically that it not be put in the contract. And then the union accepted the contract with the SIP, and then those rates be accepted.
So it really wasn't part of the contract.
The union accepted the city's counteroffer, provided that the council would agree to the ASL as well.
Because, yeah, it said that the city, and I was trying to find where
The reason the cell phone thing didn't go in the union contract with the police department was because we gave you cell phones for the squad cars.
That's separate, that's for the officers.
Yeah, but that's why we got rid of the stipends though.
He's a different,
We're talking about this.
which page is that on?
he's in the supervisor, yeah. It's separate from officers.
Which page is that verbiage on? Because I read it on the computer, now I'm having a hard time. finding-
something on 6E, that's a union.
Yeah, the
Oh,
two here.
16, the key one at the top, it says
Well, the one that
December
says-
16, 2015 negotiations.
This one's-
Yeah, I got that.
And then after that, there's one that says meeting January 6th, 2016.
Because somewhere what I read, now, like I say, I'm not finding where that was, it said that the city would negotiate it with the department, and then they came back on to say that the union accepted it, even though it wasn't part of union negotiation.
So, yeah, just reading it verbatim, it says the union attorney accepted the city's counteroffer, provided that the council would use the cell phones within as follows.
Okay, where's he reading?
And then it lists the rates out.
Which page into this are you
This
reading
one,
that?
well,
It's on
see, it's-
page 4 of 6E.
1, 2, 3.
What are you getting now, Troy?
I was getting 60, and then with the new policy, that was at the 40.
we dropped everyone to one rate.
I still don't see it.
Yeah, I think. I'm
Kirsten,
looking
show me.
at- Is it 12 of 14?
12, 16, 15 in the top right corner is highlighted, 12, 16, 15 in the negotiation.
Oh, that's the date.
This is
This is the date.
Okay.
The fourth page of item 6E. He's referring to these two council minutes in the highlighted places.
I didn't see that.
Right. It says
And I
12
missed-
of, it says 12 of 14. I think.
I mean, what we did is, we went to our neighboring communities that have similar population, similar budgets and stuff, and just came in line with them, and that's what they're doing. They're doing $40 across the board, whether it's supervisors, city clerks, anybody, it's $40 for everybody.
I guess, like, my
Because-
understanding when I read it is a result of the union negotiation. I would think to change it, that would mean involving the union.
Right. Joel, what do you think?
It's not part of the contract.
Where does it say that?
I would think that it would have been included in the contract as the phone stipend if that was a requirement.
Are you able to see the same page?
So,
So are you talking about the union negotiations from 10 years ago?
No, the one,
Yes.
10 years ago.
So, and it hasn't been part of a union contract for your union for the last 10 years. What you're saying is,
It's not been in the contract, but we've received it in the last.
Yeah, it has not been in the contract.
correct, yeah, I think we're saying the same thing.
So what are you saying? If it hasn't been in the contract, then it's not.
I'm saying that 10 years ago, the union accepted the city's counteroffer, provided that they agree to pay the phone stipend as follows, and that included the police chief at $60. So the agreement under the union contract was contingent on that stipend. And what he's saying is, if the city's going to change that amount, it affects the contract for the union negotiations. I don't know if it's been considered as part of any of the union negotiations since then, but it was at that time.
in
So,
2016.
but it's not, I don't think that you're even operating under the contract that was signed at that time. The contract's been renewed since then, and that wasn't a stipulation as part of the renewed contract. So I don't think it speaks to your current contract.
And one of the reasons that, sorry, in thinking about this, and talking to the other communities and stuff, almost everybody's got an unlimited plan, so it's not like they're being punished. You're not like you're using your phone more than somebody else. You're covered no matter what. It's just something to help the expenses of the phone. And that's why we came to that conclusion.
Yeah, like I don't have any issue with all the department heads getting the same rate. It's just my rate is getting decreased by the new policy
So you're requesting us to amend,
Yeah, my request was to amend the policy to change the rates back to what was previously negotiated in 2015.
Yeah, it's not in the contract now.
No, it is not.
How did it get out of the contract?
The CD specifically requested that it not be in the contract, and then the union requested that. The union said they would accept the contract, provided them with the city.
Are you finding that he's reading that?
I mean, here, I'm not an attorney. I don't even play one on TV. But when we did union negotiations that we just did with you guys, when you gave me that huge pay bump of 3.5, and whatever, there was no language of cell phone anywhere in the contract, and we made it very clear that when you got that bump in pay, that we were accepting the contract as written, and the only thing about cell phones that we added to it was each of the squad cars a cell
Well,
phone.
that was for the patrol officers.
No, but I mean, the whole thing was, there's no, we
That was
did
a separate-
everybody.
That was a separate negotiation,
But-
a separate union.
So are you saying that there was a phone stipend in the negotiation? There wasn't.
There wasn't.
you're the supervisors. He's talking
Yes.
about the supervisors, not the.
Joe was talking about control officers negotiation. I am in the supervisor's union.
But there was no, so we don't do a supervisor's negotiation, but every 10 years or what? We redid all of the contracts.
Supervisors negotiations at the same time, so the
Let's
city
make a
has
motion
three
and
different.
let's get it.
Yeah, and you weren't a supervisor at the time we did the negotiations. And we never talked about cell phones in that with them. They were happy to get the thing. We kept all that out. So from my perspective, I'm not saying whether the council wants to bump you back up to 600. I'm just saying from my perspective, each council is voted on. We're new people. The old stuff's out. We negotiated everything that was in the contract. And I know Dwayne and myself, when we did all the negotiating on the contracts, we said, this is what it is, as written in there. So if it wasn't in the contract, what was in it 10 years ago doesn't get included in it last year. I mean, that's insane.
So a counterpoint, if the union was expecting the rates to be lowered,
Then they should have brought it up. But they should have brought up cell phones if that was the supervisor should have brought that up
It says,
during that negotiation and when we did it. And it was never brought up.
the city counter offered as follows. It says declining adding cell phone stipend to the contract, but would be willing to negotiate directly with employees at a council meeting. That's what we're doing right now.
yep, and then after that, the union countered, saying they would accept that, provided then the council would pay the bonds.
It doesn't, where do you,
I write it down there.
the union returned at 11:10 and accepted the city's counter offer. So it just says that the union accepted number 4, declining to adding cell phone stipend to the contract. It just says right there that
But
the,
we agreed to pay the cell phones.
Yeah, but you're talking about 2015, correct?
I know, but it's saying that the union accepted the city's counter offer, and part of the city's counter offer was to decline adding cell phone stipend to the contract.
Okay, so then the next page, it says there was a consensus of the council that they were in agreement that the cell phone stipend would be put on the next council agenda, PUC agenda. So was it?
Yeah. I don't know, but it's old anyway. So let's make a motion.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Would we be able to add the rec assistant director to the cell phone policy? Because technically, he's always in the field. The only way we get a hold of him is by cell phone when he's out there.
So that's a second request then, right?
Yeah.
So you want to add the assistant recreation coordinator?
Yes.
Right? So do we, that's probably two separate motions.
Separate, yeah.
So do we have a motion to increase the stipend for the police chief, $20 a month? And are we, it's not in a union contract anywhere, correct? Becky? It's not,
It's not in the union contract.
okay. Okay, do we have a motion? One more time, do we have a motion? Okay. Hearing none, we will go on to the assistant rec coordinator. Is there a motion to add the assistant rec coordinator to the phone list?
I'll make a motion to accept the assistant rec director. $40 stipend.
Motion by Fitzpatrick, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by White. Any discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Lossing,
No.
White,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Lassie,
Yes.
Zupansich.
Yes, was yours no?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I'm next to you and I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, so seeing as that council's gone a little bit longer, I should say, Jason needs to drive to St. Paul still tonight. I've been there before in that time frame. So let's just quick move the arena assessment up of new business
And industrial.
and the industrial park, sorry. So Jason, take her away.
Did you,
Why don't you do the industrial park first, since that's under kind of the same where we are right now, K, so 6K. And then we'll jump to 8G in light of time.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm meeting with legislators and representatives for more ATV trails tomorrow at the Capitol, so, which I think Babbitt would like. Anyway, industrial park, I guess, Mayor, feel free, and Becky, chime in where you like, but we met with IRRB about the potential to do the commercial development for industrial park. So there is grant dollars available for basically coming up with site information to get your two parcels more build ready in advance. So we had a meeting with IRRR, and basically they gave a generic list of things that the city can look at doing. Pick out what you think is most advantageous for those sites, whether it is wetland delineations, ALTA surveys, different environmental reviews. Come up with basically a proposal with the cost to perform those services and submit it to IRRR. And you could get a partial or potentially a full grant to do those site evaluations depending upon where those dollar values fall. So a little bit of background, IRRR created this program, but before they were giving these grants for the communities to hand out, or basically to work with their consultants to come up with this information for prospective commercial entities coming into town. They actually hired me to do that for them, so I'm very familiar with what they're looking for in the processes. So I did talk to Janelle offline about it and know what they're looking for, but I think the next step is to go over the two sites. They want kind of an exhibitor maps developed, and then a recommendation of what upfront services that you guys would want to do and what the cost would be, and submit it to them, and you know what you would be eligible for grant. So I am certainly willing to sit down and go over that with the city if you guys want. We just need to know if there's a working group to talk about how much money the city wants to go pursue the grant to do that upfront work. If you do everything on that list, it could be a lot of time and a lot of money, and you may not be eligible for full grants. If you do a portion of maybe more priority items, you may qualify for a larger amount. So again, I'm very, I can sit down and meet with you guys. I can, most of the services that you guys are looking for in those sites, we can provide. It's just a matter of what does the city want to do.
Right, and then these are for two areas in town. One is over by South Drive and County 70 where the boulders are. It's a 6.45 acre parcel, and then there's a 40 acre parcel over by the PUC treatment plant. Both areas would be viable. We discussed the one over by where the boulders are, Boulder Ridge, whatever you want to call it, kind of like warehousing. And the IRRB indicated that they did have someone who was looking for someplace like that just for warehousing, storing larger, I don't know what it is or anything like that, but those are the two areas, so.
Yeah, and essentially what they're really looking for ultimately is a map of your sites are there wetlands, where are they, how many acres there are, what are the utilities that are readily available, what are the water and sewer capacities, how close is electrical lines? Is there any environmental studies that need to be done, such as, is it an old brownfield, just background information of phase one, things of that nature. We can look at those sites from a historical perspective and what you have for infrastructure and package all that information together.
Right.
Even doing soil borings on site. Those are types of things you can do the borings, and then you can have that to contractors, and they have an idea of if they're gonna build a facility, what type of ground are they working with?
Yeah.
Otherwise, does material need to be removed and good material need to be brought in, which raises
Right.
project costs.
Right, the 6.45 acre parcel probably has the easiest utilities and whatnot right by it, it's probably the closest.
Just a thing, Jason, would it make any difference whether we zoned it industrial or light industrial business? Like this building and the surrounding properties, they're zoned light industrial business. And I would suggest that over there because it's an area that's relatively close to residential areas. And what light industrial business gives us is the power to, anybody that wants to come in there as light industrial has to go through a conditional use permit.
Yep.
But anybody who comes in like for warehousing or something that's non-noisy and non-pollutant, they can just come right in.
Yep.
So would that be something we look at is just rezoning it to light industrial business rather than industrial?
Yeah, I think what the first step would be ask IRRR what they're seeing the most inquiries about. And, do they see advantage or one or the other? And then the second thing is whatever you ultimately settle on, whether you leave it or change it, is that how easy will it be the city to rezone it?
Yeah, but I don't think the rezoning would be a problem.
And I think that can be packaged with information that, hey, it is zoned for this, for A, but the city is very amenable to switching it to, two different determinations of zoning.
Yeah, the other area, remote over there, all we'd have to do is like a wetlands delineation to see if it's suitable.
Yeah.
And then we could make that an industrial area and give us a broader perspective of what we can put in there. But this one, I would suggest a light industrial.
All right, so that's basically just for your information. And then do you want to go ahead to HG about the arena?
Yeah, a few weeks ago, we did submit the Babbitt Arena condition assessment. We did have a draft done back in December, and then Caitlin discovered some record drawings, which took us a while to sift through, found the old drawings to the arena. So it took some time to go through that, but we were able to wrap up the report last month. I believe you guys have copies of the report.
Yep.
The good news is, I think the initial thought were there was some surface cracking on the masonry and interior walls, and is that a concern? And the good news is no. If you look at the conclusion section of your report, it's mostly deferred maintenance. There's some, some veneer cracking that needs to be attended to, some joint caulking. I think the exterior on the back locker room building, and interior of the locker room. But there's some general recommendations in there of activities that the city, Parks Department, however you want to frame it out, should start putting into a budget to start addressing those things to avoid from more severe structural issues or building leakage happening in the near future. So take a look at those. If you need to work with local contractors to look at some of those repairs and get quotes. They're kind of, I think for the most case, they're small in nature, those repairs, but I think Ben, our structural engineer, kind of put them in like a short and medium term recommendations.
Right. That was my question. I read through and I think it kind of had it prioritized.
Yeah.
Did he have a prioritized kind of list, like
Yeah,
from
I
most
think there were-
most important to,
Yeah.
Okay.
If you need any clarifications, you feel free to reach out to us. But I think the good news is that it wasn't anything like the individual that did that evaluation, the same one we did the one for Ely, which there was a different outcome there, and we had to do some emergency bracing. So there's nothing of immediate need there at this point.
That is good news. Caitlin, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I thought it was, I honestly, once I skimmed it and realized that there was nothing immediate, I had not combed through it all the way, but it was a pretty thorough report, so
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Okay. All right, any other questions for Jason?
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jason.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so then we will go back to 6F, study session versus regular scheduled meeting. So study session should not be prior to council meetings based on council meetings are scheduled at a certain time. So if the study session is shortened, we can't just roll right into a council meeting. So that all being said, I don't think we necessarily need 2 a month. And if you wanted to continue with the study session, we need to pick a separate day and time for something like that. I like the study session. It gives us a chance to all talk about different ideas that we have and that we could, not necessarily bring up during council meeting. I know you love them, Jim.
You know, I am.
I know that extra meeting.
So I'm gonna leave
Who's
it
Joel?
up to how the rest of the council would like to proceed.
I could see having one once a month.
Would you make it a standing meeting or just as needed?
As needed once a month.
Okay.
Yeah, I would begrudgingly go once a month as needed. There's a lot of stuff we can talk about at a meeting too, without, unless, if something is a broad topic and we're gonna have to spend a lot of time, yeah, study session. But if it's something on the agenda that might take 5 or 10 minutes to discuss, let's do it at a meeting.
We've probably been averaging once a month. Seems like,
We've been doing a lot of talking.
we have had a lot of stuff to talk about lately, for the last year, so.
Joe, do you have anything you'd like to input?
Me or Joel?
Joe, White.
No, but I mean, you guys understand my rotation for work right now. So an invite to a study session, I can attend those. And I'm only missing one part of the month for, and again, once, by the end of next month, I should be here for a few months straight. Work just pulls me away a little bit. So those study sessions I can attend and the other meetings I can attend virtually. Just for some reason, has to be public wherever I'm at. Not that I don't know why anybody from Babbitt would want to be where I'm at to attend a council meeting, but that's just me. If you want to come to the Arter Circle, you can come fly with me. No promises,
State
you make it
statute.
up.
It's
I
not
know.
bad. Okay, well, I guess, what I'm hearing is basically that we do not need to have a scheduled study session. So since it is on our meeting schedule, do we have a motion to disband the monthly study session?
I'll move we disband it.
Happily, right?
Any chance?
And set our regular meeting at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock?
Yeah. I think that's very convenient for the employees and that have to attend.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Lassie and a second by Fitzpatrick. Do we have discussion?
I like 5:30, but
You need to speak
Huh?
up. You need to speak up.
I said I like 5:30, but I don't think I'll have the vote for it, so carry on,
Okay, cool. Why do you like 5:30
just for work,
for your work?
Yeah.
Got it.
personal.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, let's do a roll call, please.
Lossing,
No.
White,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Lassie,
Yes?
Zupansich.
Yes. Okay, so the regular scheduled meetings are now changed to 5 p.m. Okay, G, fitness center loading dock expansion.
So, sorry, these last 2 meetings, I was sick both times, so that's why it was on the agenda, and then we couldn't talk about it. So it went through, it's actually a recommendation from the rec board. To get a quote to fix up the loading dock area to revamp and improve the fitness center. And I heard there was questions, so I'm here to answer.
Do you have, is that in your budget?
Well, the hope is to just get quotes first, so then I can try to find grants and probably bring it to a budget time.
Well, as long as it doesn't cost us, yeah, go get it.
Okay.
Yes, and I think you kind of know where I'm standing on this. I think we should need to do a walk around, and I don't know if that would require a study session or what, but
Probably not.
okay then. But I think that we need to look at, you know, since we've had the vents covered up on the north wing, we haven't had a leak. We have a good roof on the north wing, and there's a couple things that I think we need to start thinking of, or another item that we need to start thinking about as a council. And I don't know, I know Ely's city council got behind it, and that is daycare. Daycare is a hot topic. We had one of the legislatures come here, Simon, wasn't it? Anyway, when I first became mayor, and gave the whole daycare spiel on the need for small communities and daycare and stuff like that. So there's a couple things here. I'd like to look at the north wing to see what kind of room we would have for, you know, the rec department as well.
Okay,
And-
that's not, but that's, the north wing isn't where the loading dock is, right? I'm just
No,
doing it in my head, I don't know.
no,
if
the
it's
north
what's-
wing is where
Okay.
the,
Loading dock starts.
no, is where the
history
where
center.
the
History center, okay, got it.
history center is and where the
Rummage sale.
rummage sale is and stuff like that. So we know we have a good roof on that part of the building. The other thing about the loading dock is if we turn that into a fitness center, we lose any commercial availability to use that loading dock for what it's designed. I mean, like light industrial or whatever, being able to market this building towards someone that's looking for, you know, maybe a small manufacturing area or whatever. Becky and I spoke about this at the steering meeting earlier today. Did you say the loading dock does get used every once in a while?
Does get used every once in a while, yeah.
Okay, so
For what?
not
For what? What is it?
Deliveries of sort, we had garbage cans that came in last week, so.
Kind of a one-off. I'd say most times we're able to reroute deliveries to, typically it's for the garage or the PC.
Yeah,
Right, and they go to the loading dock if it's, because it's convenient. So
For sure.
It's not that they couldn't get over somewhere else, not typically.
And I did want, I have heard your concerns about that, and I think there's value to it, I understand it. I personally think the north wing and the loading dock area should be fixed up. They haven't been fixed up for quite some time. And if we were to allow me to get quotes for the loading dock area, I would like to leave at least one garage door there for ease of, to not only save that space if there was a future need, but also the ease of replacing equipment if you need to at some point. Much easier to open that garage door than it is to disassemble it and carry it out, or vice versa, you know, the other way, to bring something new in. So you get the space fixed up and you wouldn't take away the ability for it to be a loading dock area.
No, but you take away the ability to have to rent that place to somebody that has any sort of a business that could come into this
Do you know
building.
what the square footage is over there?
Huh?
Do you know what the square footage is over there?
No,
No, I haven't measured it.
no. I guess my point is I'd like us to look at all of our options before we stick too much into one thing.
Yeah.
And that would be walking around the north wind, doing some measurements, seeing, you know, we have access. We have a door to the outside on the north wing. We have parking right there.
There's only one room in the north wing that isn't being utilized.
Yeah, that we would have to move some people around. But if you move the fitness center out of where you are, there may be room for the history center in that room. I mean, yes, we need to look at this as a bigger picture, I think, and look what all of our options are.
Study session.
Yeah, well, I think a walk around with, and checking out, like Andrea said, some square footages and stuff like that. Before we get too far down the road, at least disqualify some of these other ideas.
Yeah, so ultimately, my hope is to improve the fitness center, and we really need a larger room than what we have. So that's what I'm looking
Yep.
for, and really, I don't think the loading dock is the optimal place. but I don't know that we have an optimal place.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to do.
Right.
It is optimal out of all the other rooms that I know are available. So that's
Yep.
why this is here.
Okay.
All right. Okay, anything else under that topic? No, okay. H, ordinance number 270, prohibiting the feeding of deer within city limits. Okay, so we have the ordinance right here. And again, this is nothing to do with, I don't like deer or anything like that. It's more so I don't like bringing the food source in for the wolves. Encourage it. They're still gonna come into town, they're still gonna eat plants, they're still gonna eat all the apples off my tree. It's just more so of safety for the community and children and pets. Those are my reasonings behind this, and I know other towns are adopting the same thing. So it's really up to the council if, how you wanna vote on this.
So, I don't know how many people we have feeding deer in town. None of us probably know. Do we have a lot of people feeding deer? Okay.
Really?
So I don't have anybody feeding deer on my block. And across the street from me last night, I had 9 deer. In that, but they're eating the trees and stuff. So
Yeah.
they're coming into town and they're going to eat on people's cedar trees and stuff like that. I mean, I guess I'm not 100% against it. I just wonder if we're doing something. You say there's a lot of people
There's
feeding
quite a
deer?
few people that feed deer in town, yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot of these people that are feeding the deer that bring them into town anyhow, even though you may not have them on your block.
I have the deer.
They
Well, I
go
have the
all
deer on
over
my,
town.
I have the deer on my
I mean, the
block.
deer feeders.
Okay.
They gotta
come
go,
into
they gotta
town
go
and
through
buy
your
this.
yard to get to the rest of town. That's where the
Yeah.
trail is.
So,
So Joel, we didn't act on it at the last meeting, and you said we should do it tonight because, with the full council.
Correct.
I make a motion, we adopt ordinance number 270 prohibiting the feeding of deer within city limits.
I'll second that.
okay, we have a motion by White and a second by Fitzpatrick. Discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jim.
I was just, again, gonna, say that it would be hard to have, enforcement immediately because there's so many deer feeders now and the deer are coming into town. So I would like the enforcement to start, next fall. I mean, just, like I said at the last meeting, just to be fair for the deer because they're habitually coming in town to eat, so.
I would agree with that.
So what I was gonna add was when it says city limits, I think what we mean to say is city proper, correct? I mean, do we care if people are feeding deer in Benville and, out by Wausau and
Well,
that's city limits, right?
Benville is an R2 district, just like the town. So,
So you're saying city,
well, if you're talking
Limit.
about feeding in the city limits and the single-family residential, that includes the town site and includes Benville.
Includes everything out to Wausau.
that's a different district,
Isn't
isn't it?
Or no, that's not out too.
Yeah, we go out to about a little past the Virginia Healing Road.
Mhm.
So,
Okay,
I'll amend my motion to say starting August 1st, 2025.
And then also,
okay.
if this passes and we print it, are you going to print the full ordinance or a
No.
summary?
just a summary.
You could add that to your motion.
Okay, is that added to your motion?
That is added to my motion.
Okay, John, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Lossian.
No.
White.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Lassie.
Yes.
Zupansich.
Yes, motion carries. You're always so quiet on your answers.
Oh, sorry.
Pardon me?
Speak up, please.
Yes, I'll speak up.
Don't be afraid to say no. We
Oh,
still
yeah, that
love
was a
you.
no.
Okay, 6I, Babbitt Fire Relief Association pension level increase. Do we have anyone here from the
No, unfortunately, we do not.
Okay,
They have meetings.
Mhm.
I'm going to move that we raise the current level from 1,800 per member year to 1,900.
okay.
I'll second that.
Motion by Lassie with a second by White to increase the pension.
Nope, it can't be a second by White.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Second by Fitzpatrick. Sorry. Second by Fitzpatrick, to raise the per member stipend to $1,900 a year from 18. Any discussion?
Yeah, this is something we've done periodically through the years. Doesn't cost the city of Babbitt anything. We just guarantee it should the fund run out, which it never will, so. And I think it's a great incentive to recruiting firefighters.
Thank you, Jim. Anything else? All right, roll call, please.
Lossing,
Yes.
White,
Abstain.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Lassie,
Yes?
Zupansich.
Yes, motion carries. On to 6J, dock purchases. As in your packet. And this is for the beach area.
For the land.
For the landing?
Oh, yeah, that's right. We did, I don't know, not enough people the last time, or we wanted to table it until there was a full council.
Table based off discussion on whether or not they are necessary at this time and maybe budgeted for at a later date.
Or the option of, yeah, instead of doing a dock this year, put something to secure boats on the beach instead, like tie-ups or something.
Be a real downgrade
Until
what
we
we've been
can-
doing.
Yeah, that's not a good idea for the campground. Those docks are used a lot by boaters.
Okay, so there's 2 quotes, 3 quotes? I thought there were 3 last time. Oh, 4? The North Dakota.
There's 2 of them by Docks on Wheels. They're different type docks.
Where's the DNR one? Oh, right here. 3450, 34,550.
Yeah, the last ones were DNR docks, right?
So we have the DNR at 34,550. And we have Docks on Wheels with a cedar tone at 26,380. This is for 2. And then we have it at Green Tree, not cedar tone, 23,960. Green treated ground on top. Maybe that less.
Green treated, dock brown treated at 26,380, and then mid-core docks at 34,550.
Yep.
I have all 4 of these guys.
These are the 4.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So it is up to the council to. What was the request last time, or the outcome? I was at that meeting.
Well, we had 2 members absent and
Yeah, it was tabled.
we tabled it and actually, we don't have it budgeted.
We don't.
There's nothing in the budget, so we would have to come up with the money from somewhere. And this is really, it's a frill. It's not an absolute necessity that we have that. So, I would rather, I don't know, I don't
I
think
thought we
we should.
budgeted money for docks
Did he
in the budget.
What was that?
It was discussed at budget time.
Yeah, and then,
For re-second, and then
Well, it was said that, oh, we'll find the money if you want to buy them. Well, nobody's found the money.
Okay, so are we,
I would like to just, I don't know, yeah. Plus, if we did order them, we would not be able to put them in until late summer.
this would be something that, IRRB's Culture and Tourism grant would be something to look at for also.
Yeah.
We just did use it, so we can't use it again within the same year, but I think the next round, when it comes out, we should be able to apply for that.
If
I am
we,
hoping to use that grant to fix up the beach house as well this year.
I went and talked to Jim at Zups because he was not given the quotes for the dock, the actual dimensions of the
The
docks,
requirements?
the requirements for it. So he did submit for the 2 docks, and he's quite a bit cheaper by a lot. He's less than 20 grand for both of them. Plus, he's willing to put them in and take them out every year.
Well, when you,
And you look at the price.
did
these
you
are-
get his last quote here? Because these are all 6-foot docks, these other ones. So then he came with this 6-foot dock, and that's.
They
for-
just joined together. Yeah, that's how he
That's
was
for
able to
one.
get. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the other one's 7,000, so it's 19,000 something dollars for the 2 docks.
This is a 4-foot wide and this is a 6.
Yeah, but we don't need to have a,
Oh,
we don't,
$11,000 quote from him is the revised quote, so you can basically ignore the $7,000.
okay.
So the $11,000 one was a quote created to match the specs of the other docks.
Right, being 6-foot wide,
Yes.
correct.
But I'm not sure that they would, because that other dock that is getting replaced wasn't that massively wide. That, this first
The one
quote,
closest to the big rock was narrow.
yeah, the one, but also the other one was smaller too. It wouldn't
Yeah, It
require.
wasn't 6 foot.
Yeah, it wouldn't require that. But if we don't have the money, we don't have the money, but
Right.
I think it would definitely hinder the campground somewhat. They are used a lot.
We should ask Tony, I mean, they were still usable when they took them out. I know they weren't in the greatest of shape. I don't
And they're
know
wood,
if they
they
could
can't
do some
replace the
welding on them,
planks.
or, I mean, did
They
they
were-
trash them or what?
They were trash.
They're trash. Tony said they're not safe, they're trash, they've just been used more than when they should have been, and they're not, they would pose a safety hazard.
They're made out of
So-
metal. You should be able to add metal and weld and fix and don't have to have new all the time. But maybe they threw them away.
Yeah, I believe he said at the last meeting that they were broken and literally trashed.
Yeah.
Like taken.
Yeah.
Okay,
Disposed of.
That's 'cause he
So we have
doesn't-
nothing.
we don't have the money.
We have nothing for the boat landing.
No,
This should have been-
this
we
is
should
the
have
dog
waited.
dock and.
I don't think
Yeah, they shouldn't be doing that
No,
stuff
it's not.
without
Those
us.
are-
There's one by
You-
the two main ones by the rock.
You
There's that
should have
third
waited.
one, And then there's one over by the beach area where the boats land.
So it's
Yeah,
Yeah.
the main docks are still there, the boat landing docks.
the
are
boat
there.
landing, okay, I thought this was the boat landing.
No, these are to
Okay.
replace the other
Extra
two that are
ones.
heavily used.
Yeah.
Okay.
These aren't needed.
They are heavily used, if you're wondering.
Yep, they
By
are.
boat, by not just the And I
Yeah,
did not,
and without them, they just have to pull their boats up on the sand.
yeah, I did not know that they were getting jumped this year. I did not know that they were in such bad shape. But, so, it will
How
affect,
can
it
somebody
will
do
affect
use
the
it?
public, but it's like you said, it's not a necessity.
I would like to hold out until we get to maybe a grant, see if we can get something.
I agree.
Okay, we already did the industrial park, so now we go on to the committee reports. Public Safety Committee Assistant Ambulance Director recommendation.
Just real quick, so in here is a resignation letter by me. I just want to let everybody understand that it was never my intent to be a permanent director or assistant director. The ambulance department was in turmoil when we had previous leadership resigning left and right, and there was problems ensuing. They needed leadership and they needed it now. It was decided by the council to allow me to fill that role temporarily. We have a very good leader in there right now with Emily doing a good job, and it's not fair to her to have a council member as an assistant director. It kind of impedes her decision-making ability when you have somebody like that sitting right underneath you, and it inhibits her. So the department is doing well with her and Eric and the other members. It is time for me to do the right thing, which is to step back and let them run the department as they see fit. So that is why I put in my letter of resignation, so that they could run it the way they want to run it. After talking with the new safety council, we're all in agreement. It's time for them to start moving forward. So that is why I am resigning. I am still on the department. I will still be at your house at 2:00 in the morning when you need help. I'll be there when I'm in town, but I just wanted everybody to understand why that was. I was not intending to stay on the department for that. I was a fill-in to make sure our department survived. Personally, it was some chaos that was going on, and they needed a strong leader that had some pull. And as a council member, I had some pull to keep us going until we got the right leadership in place. So I want to thank the previous council and this council for keeping me in there and supporting the department as they did. We are still hurting for people, but we are going strong and doing good for our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, so do I have a motion to accept his resignation?
I'll move we accept it and extend our gratitude to Joe for job well done, Joe. Thank you.
I will second that.
Thank
Okay,
you.
motion by Lassie with a second by Lossing. Any discussion? Okay, thank you, Joe, also for me. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Steering committee heat pump 31.
No, sorry, second.
Yep, we need the assistant ambulance director recommendation from the.
Is there one?
Yes, so
Oh,
the
okay, good to
safety,
know.
John, did you want to
Sorry.
speak to that? I wasn't at the meeting, but I know what went on with it.
No, you can.
Okay, so,
I don't know who the people are.
so Eric,
Cool.
yep, Eric Hool is currently the training officer, and as normal, what we do is he'll move up into that assistant director position until we find another assistant director. He's very qualified, I believe, to be the assistant director. He is also a paramedic, one of 3 on the department. It would be the safety council's the safety committee's recommendation that we go ahead and open both the assistant director and the training officer position for 10 days to get people to apply to try to fill both those shoes, assuming that Eric would be probably the only one that applies for it. There might be somebody else, I don't know. But if he gets it, then we already have somebody in the chute, hopefully for the training position. If not, I believe those 2 can fill both those positions if they don't. But we can at least
you
try.
open up the training position
Well,
and
he-
then take it away? Like if, say
I think-
2 people
I
apply.
think was the public safety committee recommending Eric move up into this
Yeah, he moves into the
and
assistant,
then open the training?
but you still have to open the assistant because he's not going to be, you still have to open it up for everybody to be able to run
You
for it.
can promote from within.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
I'm just saying what our recommendation is so there's no more animosity or issues.
So the recommendation is to open up both positions?
Yes,
Okay.
he'll fulfill that one for the time being. He'll fulfill
Temporary.
both for the time being.
And
And I
move
think
to
you can
temporary.
do that, open them both up. And whatever one he ends up with is he can either stay the training officer or he becomes the assistant director, whatever we decide to hire.
I don't
know, Joel.
I don't know if you can if he hasn't stepped down from a position. Can you open a position if someone's currently in it?
Like the training officer is going to fulfill the assistant director's position for now, but he's still also the training officer.
He's applying for
So
the
could you
assistant
open
director.
both of those positions now to have applicants in case he wants to take the assistant?
No, you have to have a letter from
Yeah, a
them.
resignation.
You have to have a vacancy before you
Okay.
can.
So he could
Advertise for
apply for the assistant if he wanted and then moved, and then we would
And
have
then
to
you'd
do
have to
this
open it up.
process again. Okay.
Okay. So was there a motion on the floor for that?
Then I guess let's motion that we go ahead and make Eric the assistant director and not open his position because he's willing to take it. And then we,
Accept.
should he accept it,
Open.
we open up the training position.
Okay, so there's only one position that's being opened if he
Yes.
accepts it.
If he accepts it, the only position open will be the training position.
Okay. All right, so that is your motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion by White with a second by Fitzpatrick. Any discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Lossing,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Lassie,
Yes.
Zupansich.
Yes, motion carries. So now on to new business. We will go to
We
eight.
have We have one more in the committee.
Steering
reports.
committee.
Steering, oh God, I'm sorry. Sorry, didn't mean to last.
Yep.
All right, steering committee.
Dwayne, did you wanna say that one?
So pump number 31 is the one that's down in the boiler room that is actually takes care of the hot water for the building. It's the one that Les and I shut off here about a year and a half ago because it was making noise. The noise was real. And now it actually, we had hot water today. It was first thing when I came in the building, I went in the bathroom. They're still working, but it's on Fritz, according to Iron Range Plumbing. We thought we could maybe just get by with a hot water heater and save some money, but it heats the boiler room, so we have to replace it. And this is just, in process, like we always say, or we've said before, these pumps have way outlived their life expectancy, and they're gradually going one at a time. So steering committee makes a recommendation that we go ahead and, when need be, replace it. And it sounds like they're saying that is now. And good news from Kirsten let me know there is Minnesota Power does have a rebate on everything that we've placed so far and ones that we are going forward with also.
Yeah, they will be coming the first week of April to
Yeah.
look everything over.
Are you guys fixing the one at the teen center office? It's still out, the one at the teen center office. Are you guys working on that one?
I don't know, you'd have to ask Becky where they're at
I'll
on
have
that.
to see which number that is. They gave me a list of, pumps that are not, that are still not working, that they need maintenance. So I'll see if that one's on there. I believe it is. Is that one like 17 or 18? I think it's
Do you have a little heater in there or what, Caitlin?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, she
You
has
get
to
some
leave her
residual
door
heat
open.
from the teen center? But
Yeah.
yeah, there's a heater in
So what you're saying is you've gotten by without it, so you really don't need one. 2 years and you haven't been screaming.
Yeah.
You could save $8,000.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so do we, I'm sorry, Les?
Joe contributed that space heater.
One of them. I don't know if you said it's still working. Wow.
Okay. So anyway, I will make a motion on unit number 31 that we go ahead and replace that since we are not able to just put a hot water heater in there. We have to replace the system because it is heating the boiler room and part of the building.
Okay, motion by Lassie. Do we have a second?
Oh, it's Lawson.
Lawson.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Lassie, a second by White. Do we have any discussion?
This comes from city facilities or?
We budgeted, this is coming out of that 50,000 we put in there?
Well, there was 200 to begin with that.
No, but we specifically budgeted money for
yes.
this repair.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
From city facilities? Okay, any other discussion?
Yeah, could I just?
Yes, sir.
Something? Could we review that unit? I know. The only reason I'm like, you could review that unit is because right now it's listed as a 3-ton unit. It may be beneficial if we're gonna do a 4-ton unit, there's really no difference in cost. The other thing is, I happened to just glance through this copy, the estimate here, and they want to take the parts from the existing units and keep the parts for themselves. I might be getting a little bit too specific here, but in that unit, there's a nice heat exchanger, and it may be beneficial in the future for us. It's a special heat exchanger.
So what you're saying, before we go forward, I mean, we can approve it now, but before we make that motion, we want to look.
Yeah.
I mean, before we actually have them
Right.
come, we can make the motion now to approve it.
Okay.
Yep.
Is everyone okay with that?
Mhm.
Lawson, White? Okay, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Lassie.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Lassie.
Yes.
Zupansich.
Yes, motion carries. Now on to the campground under new business. This is regarding the 2-year PUC invoice. So this was from the past, for the past 2 years, for work that they had been doing out at the campground. So they are submitting a bill to the city for $8,704.11. Does anyone have any questions?
No.
So I have a motion to approve.
Make a motion, we pay the bill.
Okay, motion by White,
I'll second that.
second by Fitzpatrick. Any discussion?
Yeah, this was agreed to when we first got the campground going, because we did not know exactly what the water sewer usage would be or anything like that. So we agreed to monitor it for 2 years and then determine at the end of the 2 years what the cost would be. So this is a little bit more than it'll be, because initially with the new campground, there was additional work that had to be done that was a one-time deal, so
Okay,
it should not be this high in the future.
okay. I think they came up with the units, whatever.
Yeah, the ERUs.
Yep. All right, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Lossian,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Lassie,
Yes.
Zupansich.
Yes, motion carries. Teen center attendant resignation and open, oh, wait, sorry. Recreation Central Park plans. Just trying to fly through it.
May the president talks in 20 minutes.
Yep, they were sent.
Yep, I got it, let's go. And this is, you have the money for it, right?
We do.
So you need from us, just approval of the plans?
Yes, and then I was hoping that we could schedule, for the provider, the people that are putting the park in, to have a meeting that the public can come to voice any concerns, like a Q&A. I don't know if I want to do it during the council meeting or schedule it before. But I guess that's standard, so that if there's any public concerns, they can come talk about it.
Yeah.
I have one concern. Where is it going? Are you keeping the garden?
Yeah, no, it's the same size as
Same
what's
footprint.
like, yeah, we're not
Okay.
extending it any further in any direction.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're just replacing everything, right?
Just updating.
What are you gonna do with the old stuff?
We are gonna sell it in an auction. If it
It-
is so.
Is the meeting that she's talking about, is that something that council needs to be at, or could it be something that's just represented by the rec?
I would think just the rec.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Well,
least
you
he was
guys know
hoping.
more about it. I think
Well, no,
Caitlin's
that's
done
what
a
I'm
great
saying. I
job.
mean, and really Caitlin, I mean, we could have the rec committee there, but you got the answer. You have the answers. So, I mean, just setting up a public meeting and I don't think that, we don't have to tie the council into it.
Wants to attend, I can post it out for them, maybe had as well.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the plans?
Make a motion to,
To approve.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Fitzpatrick, with a second by White. Any discussion?
I will say that there was three that and this was, this is 3 designs and through some discussion and then talking about parts that would be attainable in the future and stuff like that. This is the one that got narrowed down to, right?
Yeah, this one, the parts come out from Delano, Minnesota, whereas the other provider was Alabama. So
Yep.
the shipping is much less and, yeah.
Okay.
That's really what it came down to.
Yep.
They were all great designs.
You did some nice work,
Yeah.
especially getting grants and all your work. I appreciate that.
There was definitely help with getting money.
So, good job. All right, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Lossian,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Lassie,
Yes.
Zupansich.
Yes, motion carries. Now onto the teen center attendant resignation and opening.
Make a motion, we accept the teen center attendant resignation and that we post an opening for the position.
Okay,
and
I
send a
don't think we
letter.
have to open, we're actually
Thank you.
pretty good with the two people we have. So if
Okay,
you
I
want to
rescind the
that,
opening part and change it to send a letter of thank you to the one resigning.
Okay, motion by White, do we have a second?
Yes.
Second by Lassie. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Resolution number 2025-03, defining and establishing committees and commissions of the city of Babbitt. Did this get overlooked?
Okay.
Didn't we do this already? No?
No, we didn't do it.
Okay.
So,
All right, so
go ahead.
is there anything new on here?
The whole thing is new. It was something that Counselor Lawson asked me to look into,
Oh,
and
okay.
I had talked with the league. It is something that a lot of cities do have, just regulating the standing committees and commissions. There was a couple things that this was a sample resolution from the city of Sauk Rapids. We just changed a couple things to be more specific to us in the sense of like the PUC is its own standing, they have their own financials, and it may have one member of the council, but it's not allowed to. And then specifics about meeting times.
And that, for me, that's why I brought it up, was about meeting times. So-
You wanna-
Yes,
The library's not listed on there, is it?
Yeah.
The library is the board, the governing board.
Yeah, library and PUC are both on here. Library has one council and 4 public. And PUC has 1 council, 3 public.
It's listed as a board too.
Are you worried about the time?
No, I'm just worried that the library is a governing board, it's not a commission. It's not a committee.
All the council member is there for is to bring back what was discussed at that meeting. All the council member is there for is to bring back what was discussed at the meeting, so the council knows.
Okay, so with this, is it just you're appointing some member of the council? from
Yes.
Various,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
okay, I thought you were establishing committees.
No.
No,
no.
no, just
I guess that's what it
council
says.
seats,
That's what I
basically.
So I
So,
question the PUC, there are 3 members, but one, there is no council
Where's the
member on the
time?
PUC at this time.
No, we have,
E?
there's a notation below where it says that a
Thank
PUC
you.
or a council member
Very
does
good.
not need to be appointed.
Oh, I see that, okay.
Okay, and so the meeting times are, all committee, commission, and board meetings shall be held no earlier than 3 PM unless an emergency meeting. That is under E on the second page. You see that?
No, I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
that would
so
be-
that's the biggest change. That's the biggest change is that, wanting to change. So all the committees are meeting, so working class, so we can get younger people involved in these committees. And so working people can, if they have personal issues, that they can make it to them without missing a day's worth of work. So, and not only this came from the league, we also checked with Ely and I think one other community, and they all have theirs later in the afternoon, so people can attend, and also so working class people can be part of these, attracting people to become part of these committees. So,
Well, I guess I'm not comfortable with the time. Planning commission has met at 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
We have a hell of a hard time getting people to serve now, but we still have a vacancy. So.
Yes.
Also, the library board, there's 5 from the public, not 4,
There's 5 from the public? Okay.
5 board members.
That can be replaced.
Are there 5 on planning? Or, 4?
Planning commission has 5, 1
Five
council,
total.
4 at large.
Oh, I suppose library council doesn't vote, so that's why it's not numbered. Yeah.
Make a motion,
I
I'll
answered my
second it.
question.
Did you get what I said?
No, maybe not.
I said it's 5 public.
Yeah.
The library.
Yep.
Okay.
No, I was asking Jim about the planning commission, but it's still an odd number, and because there's 1 council and 4 public, Whereas you're 5 public and 1 council, but the council doesn't vote. So it's still it's an odd number, so I answered my own question.
I'll make a motion to accept resolution number 2025-3.
Okay, motion by Fitzpatrick. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by White. Any discussion?
Just amend the motion to include with revision of library work ordinances. The 5 instead of 4.
Okay. All right, so that you're acceptable with those?
Yes.
Okay. I just have one question. So do a majority of these meet during the day?
Mhm.
Except for like West Babbitt is was typically at 4:30.
West Babbitt isn't as needed.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're typically in the afternoon. This would just require it be that. Otherwise,
And rec is in the afternoon, but otherwise all of them are in the mornings, eh?
Mhm.
Pretty much.
No, library board's in the
Library
afternoon,
board's in the
Oh, yeah.
4 o'clock.
They just, yeah, they changed.
Okay. Lisa?
4.
4:1.
It's
Oh,
at
4
4.
p.m.
Yeah.
Well, I just don't agree with the campground committee being 3:30, the cemetery committee 3:30, the planning commission 3:30. I don't like it. It's not been that way and I don't see a need to change it, so that's just me.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Lossing,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Lassie,
Nope.
Zupansich.
Yes, motion carries. Sessions of city, status cancel, community, okay, F, community projects for fiscal year 2026 funding.
Room rental, 131.
That was deleted.
Oh, that was
Yep, that was
deleted?
deleted,
Oh, we've been here so long, I don't remember.
I'm gonna make the bed.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, I've been on the road since 5 o'clock last week.
Okay. Could someone put this on?
That's yours.
Oh, it's mine. Okay, yeah, there is, okay, now I get what it's for, see? I'm in the same boat, Joe. Yeah, there are some things we should figure out what we want to do for grants that are coming up in 2025. Right now, I understand it's on a moratorium holding pattern or something, but the deadline originally was the end of March. So some community project fundings, we don't know when that deadline is going to be opened up. And so I think it's smart that we have some things in the docket ready to go on this. One of the items that I was considering putting on here would be the funding for the industrial parks for the grants. I looked at last year's 2024 recipients, or actually they applied in 2024, they're getting it for 25. There were 15 projects selected and to the tune of like 8 million and 6 million for Silver Bay and Ely and all different various projects. So I think it's something that we should be aware of and we should start it sooner than later just to be ready when they say, okay, submit it, and then be the first ones to get in there. So other than the industrial park, does anyone have any other suggestions on avenues to look at? Like we could do a facility upgrade and keep that broad enough where we could put anything over for the fitness center and things like that in there too.
Caitlin also mentioned the beach houses and.
That's what I was gonna ask, is there grants for like upgrading our
It
beach?
sounds like it's pretty broad, and if we can lump it all together under one broad enough, I think we could, put that all in there.
Yeah, maybe
So-
we could do something with the beach. I know the wooden pavilion's still in great shape, but maybe we could redo the one building and maybe we could add some stuff down there with some creativity.
And I think infrastructure for that.
Yeah.
Shacky building or whatever could be added in.
Yeah.
So. All right, does anyone have anything else? Like, do you want me and Becky to work on that then, getting dollar, right? We could have a study session, would be great.
I'd have
We
to
have
think
to
on it a
3:30.
little bit.
Okay. Is that amenable? Or everything's okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, alrighty, so then now H, approve ambulance director attendance at EMS Leadership Academy.
Make a motion, we go ahead and approve Emily to attend the EMS Leadership Academy.
Okay,
Second?
motion by White, second by Lassie. Any discussion?
These things are always really good and get you networked into stuff around the county and the state. So I think this is a good thing. Glad she wants to go to it.
Did she bring it up?
I would assume she brought it
Yep,
up,
she did.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Just curious. All right, any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Lossing.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Lassie.
Yes.
Zupansich.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, snowmobile ATV club land owner permit. So those are all,
They have a standing agreement right now, it's just expired, they're working through their audit, so they requested that it go before you just to be renewed for another 20 years. It's the same exact contract as they have currently.
So,
yeah, I looked up all the parcels, it's literally along the roads. Now, I guess my question is, are they just within that entire parcel? They have like jurisdiction over the whole parcel, or, I mean, they usually stick to their own trails, but can they just like change their mind and then go wherever?
is this all St. Louis County owned land? Is there any private land here?
I didn't look that up.
Hmm.
I think, no, I think it's all, no, it's all city of Babbitt land because we can't.
Yeah, we can't speak for
do
the county.
easements for other people. Yeah, I looked up everything to see where it was. Like this is by the water tower, that's by North Drive, this is along Highway 70, then by the golf course, section behind. Can't read my writing. Conservation Road, maybe that's Conservation Road. East of the Conservation Club, 38 acres in the well area behind your house, you know,
Yeah.
and then
This
campground.
isn't no maps, this is timber tracks all over it.
Mhm.
But-
Yeah.
But this is just.
Joel, do you know, like, are
This is
they
not a legal binding anything here.
easements? Yeah, easements are legally binding.
Huh?
Easements are legally binding.
So this is a land use license. It's a
Oh, okay.
license, not an easement.
Okay,
So this is a right to use it. It doesn't, so it's a little bit different, but it's similar. I did not look at the location of all of these. At the city's request, I can do so. I don't know from 20 years ago if these are all still subject to where the trails are. I don't know. I can certainly check.
I guess my only question is, you know, is it only subject to the trails or can they just decide to move the trails within the land? That's my only question. I mean, it doesn't specify it or anything.
It does say to the permission to use and occupy portions of the parcels.
Also says we can terminate at will.
Yeah.
Also says we can terminate at will.
Okay.
The license may be terminated by the licensor at will or with or without cause, and in the complete discretion of the licensor,
The licensor is the landowner.
which would be us, by licensor giving 60 days written notice.
Well, because one of the 40s that's going through happens to be my 40. It's not the city of Babbitt's 40.
Is it your fault? I didn't see it anymore. Or
Well,
did they read it?
I don't know. It still says it doesn't matter right now,
Here, I think,
as long as it says.
section 2, township 16. Let me see. Which section is yours?
It doesn't say what section that is, that information is not on there. Doesn't give you a description.
It doesn't say the section, so township range is up there.
Yeah.
But
It's the, yeah, you don't worry about it
when
right
I
now,
looked it
because
up, it
what
didn't
Joe read right there makes it unqualified, I mean, it doesn't matter. If we decide we have to change it, we can.
I don't think it goes through yours though.
Yeah, it does. That's why I know it does.
But, here, let me look it up.
I'll make a motion barring, Joel is good with the writing and, everything in it, that, we go ahead and approve it and sign it.
Okay, motion by White, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Fitzpatrick. All right, any discussion? Go to the top corner. Okay, roll call please.
Lotsine,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Lassie,
Yes.
Zupansich.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, what's the last one?
Next council meeting will be held at.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah, next council meeting.
Thank you, Jern.
Motion by Lassie, second by Fitzpatrick.
What a marathon.
All in
Favor,
say
yes,
aye.
aye.
That was one of our longest
Me,
ones.
me.